Right. Good evening, all for one for all community out there. This is Jerry Penny and Alistair McDonald here from the All for One community. And from our community as well, tonight we have Sandra Capito. Welcome, Sandra.
Hello. Thank you, Jerry.
Sandra's been joining us recently on a few calls, and we've loved her interaction and questions, and we can see her sitting there taking lots of notes. And a couple of weeks ago, we said to Sandra, "Come on, put your hand up. It's time for you to have a chat and share something with us." And she said, "Oh, what am I going to talk about?" So tonight, Sandra just really is just sharing her journey. When I met Sandra towards the second half of last year, we did a 12-week coaching course together. Was it about 12 weeks? Is that right?
Yeah, I think
Something
so.
like that.
Yeah, sounds about
And we were one of the few people that went right to the end. And it was an amazing course, and we learned a lot in it. And by the end of that, Sandra was ready to quit her job, and did so right before Christmas, didn't you?
I did.
And so we just want to hear more about that tonight. One of our guest speakers in the past was Gavin Sequoia, and his business is called Break Free from Corporate. So he's all about helping people. I don't know if you were on that call, Sandra, but yeah, he's all about getting people to leave corporate and giving them the guts to do that, and figuring out where to go next and everything like that. So over to you, Sandra, and we'll interrupt with questions whenever we want.
Great. Hi, everybody. So I'll just give you a quick snapshot of me. I am a registered nurse and have been nursing for about 1,000 years. And I'm very lucky in nursing that you move around quite a lot. I've moved from hospital settings into community, into project management, and most recently I was at a large organisation, disability organisation in Victoria, and I was there for 7.5 years, and I was a senior clinical advisor there around quality and risk. And towards the end of my time there, I was recognising how I was responding or reacting to things, and I felt like it was time to probably move on. And coincidentally was also the time that I completed that coaching course that Jerry was referring to earlier, and it just sparked something in me that I felt so much more alive and relatable and calm and generous, that I decided that where I was working, as much as I learned a stack load about the sector, I needed to learn more about myself. So I recognised that it was time for me to go. So I just resigned and didn't have a job to go to, which is the first time in my life that I've done that. So I did panic a bit, and there is still a bit of panic there, I must say, sometimes, but I feel it was the right time to do it. And so since that time, so for about 6 months or so, I've been building, moving into a business consultancy coaching business. I should say that the other way around. And, you know, this is like a foreign language to me, starting your own business, and, you know, recognizing or pinpointing what it is you're actually offering to people. And that's been quite interesting, funneling everything in, because my learnings are that you don't have to be everything to everybody. And being used to being that person, being a nurse, you sort of want to help and care and save everybody. But I recognize that I have ability to really relate and connect with people, and so that's where I've decided to do my work. And I think actually it's my life's work. I don't think it's a career move, it's more my next sort of chapter, and it's where I can go to work without having to put a different persona on. I'm offering myself, really, and being generous that way, rather than leaving my person. I used to think, I used to go up in the lift at work and I'd leave my personality at the door, in the lift actually. And then it was like, oh, this is the Sandra that's obedient, that won't do it, that will do everything that's asked, won't question anything, and felt like I was quite defenseless. And now I feel like I can really, I can be me, and it's great. So I'm excited and scared, but that's where that's me. So
Alistair, you had your hand up. Was that for a question?
Yeah. So I really wanted to jump in there on something you said, because like this is key. One of the keys, I think. You said something along the lines of, I can't remember the first bit you said, but you said it turns out you feel like this is your life's work. So I kind of went into coaching because people were asking me to show them the stuff I knew. And in fact, Harsha, who you have met, one day he just approached me and said, mate, I want to pay you to coach me. Like, he literally made me do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd really shirked it. And once I got into it, and then I officially launched, and my business partner was at the launch, and he just stood there and said, oh, this guy's always been coaching anyway, which I didn't realize. So probably contributed to the loss of my first marriage, always coaching. But so I've kind of fallen into what feels like my life's work too. So I get that. I wonder, like, have you established how people can find that, how people can not feel stuck, how they can awaken that, I guess?
So that's a really good question. So I feel like I've been a coach most of my life anyway. I've always been, not to think that I'm any better than anyone else, because I'm not, but I've always been the go-to person, Sandra, help me with this, or what do you think about that? And so when I did the coaching course, it just felt natural to continue that work, but with some structure, and not about solving the problem, but getting people up into a spot where they can solve their own problems, and I guide them through it. So in the particular area of my business right now, and I'm quite flexible in it. So my work would be working with disability in the disability and aged care sectors, and looking at teams and organisations around ensuring that every person that comes in contact, every customer, client, resident, gets the best care, the safest care with dignity every single day. And so what I want to do is really uplift teams, really get their value, and lead and get the organisations to come on board, because I find in these sectors that the organisations are they work in silos. Even within organisations, they work in silos. So it's around about getting the values, the purpose, the meaning threaded right through the organisations. Then I've also got my one-on-one coaching that I can do outside of the disability and aged care sectors as well. So I'm prepared I can do both. But whilst I can relate to the disability sector and the aged care sector, I think there is much work to be done in that space, especially with the Royal Commissions that are currently underway, and we already probably know what the findings are going to be anyway. So it's around just uniting teams and valuing the teams with the work that they do, because the work isn't easy at all. Did I answer your question?
So that was really good from this, I guess, from the perspective of how it happened for you. And I described how it happened for me. I guess now that you've said more, I get that you're kind of focused on a specific area. So maybe my question wasn't so relevant, but it was really, I guess, along the lines of, because when Jerry introduced what you're going to talk about, I really thought to myself, there's a lot of people, perceptively, there's a lot of people now in the last 5-10 years who have been thinking, why am I in a corporate? My parents did 20, 30, 40 years with the same place. It's not going to happen for me. Rather than getting another job, career ladder, why don't I start my own business? I still haven't discovered with my clients what is it that kind of gets someone to jump out of that corporate, because it takes courage, doesn't it?
It really does. And I think it was intuitively, I think I knew it way earlier than when I made that decision. I was ignoring the signs that I had to get out of there. And then it just push came to shove, and I just said, no, I really need to leave. And it's a leap of faith, because you haven't got anyone else. You got yourself. That's it. And it'd be easier for me to find another job, because I could get another job tomorrow. But I think I'd be doing myself a disservice if I did that. I just need to see how I go with this first. And so, as hard as it is, being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, it's still quite cathartic as well, because you know exactly where you want to go. Even though it's not 100% clear, you're pulled in a certain direction. So I can work in teams, I can work one-on-one. I'm happy. As long as I'm leaving impact and people's lives are improved at the end of it, my work is done.
So I heard a few things there. The leap of faith. So that's a key. I know my old man finished in his industry after about 30 years in that industry, early 50s, started to look at what's next. He could have been a great entrepreneur, died 6 months later.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I remember going through his, I was devastated going through his filing cabinet, finding he was researching being a locksmith and these other, I could just imagine him being this guy who was an engineer, right? And that was devastating for me at the time, but that spurred me on. I thought, well, I'm not going to do the right thing all my life. I'm going to do what I've got to do.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. Now, for me, it's been really kind of ad hoc. There hasn't been a lot of planning or thought. So when you're talking about the leap of faith, it did sound though like you really, like you said, you can get a job again. It's not like you took a crazy leap. It's not like people have to take a massive risk.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I get what you're saying there. Yeah. So, you just got to just see what happens. And, I think when you're not working, in the traditional sense, you have that ability just to be a little bit, just quieten down a bit, just stay a bit quiet and actually listen to what's going on for you. And so when I'm feeling overwhelmed, it's like, oh my God, I've got to get all this stuff on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. It's like, don't forget your purpose. Just don't forget your purpose. And so I keep focusing on what the outcome I want, what the outcome I want for the residents and the clients, and I keep that as my motivation. I want people to feel valued if they're providing care or if they're in receipt of care. I just want them to feel valued. I've got my father just transitioned into an aged care facility right in the middle of lockdown, on my birthday actually. And now I will always have a critical eye because I'm a nurse. I will always be critical of other people's, where they look after people and support people. But, I've had to deal with quite a bit of stuff that I shouldn't need to deal with, but I can do it because of my expertise. What about those people that don't have that clinical knowledge and they just put 100% trust in the care that they are paying? And I think that they do it in good faith. And like a lot of services, a lot of facilities do the right thing. They do the absolutely right thing, but you see things that can be improved, and it's around communication. It's around about, really solid, robust leadership and relatability within the teams and feeling valued. It's just so important. And so I've got the lived experience of the aged care, but I've got the professional experience in the disability sector, and they can cross-pollinate them.
Sandra, what really resonated with me before was when you said that you were showing up and leaving your personality at the front door. That's I was trying to figure out where I've heard something like that before. Maybe it was something Maureen told us or something like that. But it's so true for so many people. Like, why do they have to turn up to a job and not get to be the real themselves? What kinds of things do you think that you had to change about yourself in your old job?
So I just found that when I was working, it was like, Sandra will fix it. Sandra won't question. Sandra will just do what she's told. And when I did question, it felt like I was a disobedient child at times. Like, it was like, well, what do you mean? And why would you want to try it like that? It was like I was being scolded for having an opinion, and only the opinions of the very senior people counted. And I was the conduit. I was hearing what was going on the ground in the services, and I was hearing what was wanting up high, and it wasn't matching. And so the personality couldn't come out because when I was out in the services they did, I let it rip. Like I had my, you know, my happy, laughing all the time, and but also being quite serious, but being very relatable. When we were in the corporate in the corporate part of the organisation, everything was very vanilla. There was no fancy choc chip or anything. You had to be vanilla. You had to speak in a certain way. You had to say, you just had to be someone that you're not. It was quite, when I think about it now, I think, oh my God, I can't believe I lasted that long. So Glennon Doyle says in her book, I think it's Love Warrior, she says that when she was out in the world, it was her representative that was out in the world. Her real self stayed inside. Her representative, you know, sort of showed who it was, but it wasn't really her. And that's that's how I resonate with that. I didn't feel like I was my true self. I wasn't good enough to be my true self. And of course I now know that that's not true. So
what kinds of things are you going to bring that is the real Sandra to your business?
I want to bring honesty, integrity, humor. Humor is so important. You know, the emotional intelligence, the empathy, really bringing part of my experience obviously to my work, but really listening and receiving information. So Marcia Reynolds is a really fantastic coach. I've just discovered her in the last couple of weeks, and she talks about communication being massive. As we all know, it's a big part of our lives. But we can talk, but the most important part of communication is listening. But she calls it not just listening; she calls it receiving. And when she just changed that wording around, it was like, yeah, I'm receiving this information. What do I do with it? And I'm receiving the information. I'm receiving the feeling. I'm receiving everything, the behaviour, the emotion, everything. So you need to sort of work with instead of just working with your mind, you work with your mind, your heart and your gut, like the whole lot. And I think that's what I'll be bringing. In fact, I know that's what I'll be bringing to my work.
We often have to give ourselves permission to receive too, because too many people spend so much energy just giving. And look, that's one of our words. Givers. I should have receivers as one of our words.
Yeah.
What do we got behind my shoulder?
Learn ideas.
Right, that's behind there.
Community sharing.
Conversation, I think, is that other word.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so because there's someone I have to introduce you to. I just realised she's got a similar background to you, but she has this thing about giving yourself 7 permissions to receive or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's all to do with retraining your brain as well, and it's really quite fascinating. But so what actually was that final straw that made you leave your job?
Well, for me, it was the physical feeling of dread going in. I felt a physical reaction to going into work, and I thought, this is not normal. There's anxiety, and then there was just this thudding, heavy dread in my guts, and it was the worst on a Sunday evening. Oh God, I used to go nuts on a Sunday evening. 4 o'clock,
nights, yeah.
4 o'clock, something would switch in my head, and I would just switch, and then I just go, I can't do another week of this. I'd be petrified of the emails I would find. Scared of switching on my phone, because I just knew all I'd be doing is giving, which I don't mind doing, but it was spot fight. It wasn't giving with a purpose. It was to solve somebody else's problems, because they were too frozen to solve their own. So there was a real dependence on me. And I'd come home and I felt like a skeleton. I felt like a complete skeleton, or a fish had just been gutted. So I thought, no. And what I was finding, the balance in my life wasn't quite right. Like I was giving all my energy to my work, which, I had to show up and do my work, but my family wasn't getting anything. And so I felt that balance was completely out of whack, really quite against my values around my family. So that was an awakening. And it's just amazing in that time, what I've discovered in my own family, the little treasures I've found along the way, and a lot of learnings for me around my family.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us a bit more about what you're going to be doing, and how you kind of decided what to do. How, like, you knew what you were good at, but how did you decide to turn that into a business?
I just felt that there's in terms of turning it into a business, I feel and I know that there is a need for it, because I see how people are just stomped on for so long, and they don't have a voice, and they don't have permission to speak or to feel or to do anything. They are told what to do and they do it, and then that perpetuates a really bad culture in that particular, say, service. And what I found is that the clients that were in receipt of that care were getting caught up in that culture as well. So there was a lot of mistrust, a lot of angst, a lot of back chatting and gossip and all that kind of stuff. And I know when I strip it all back, and I thought, but we're providing a service, that's our job. Why do we get caught up in all that other stuff? And for me, people are coming to work unhappy. People have their own stuff going on outside of work, and we don't tend to nurture their well-being, because they're human beings, they're not just workers. And I think we have to be emotionally intelligent to provide the support for those workers, and also for the leaders in those services, emerging leaders. Train, you know, they need some training, they need some mentoring as well. And I think that's where it really needs to work at the grassroots level, but also, as I said earlier, just to thread it right through the organisation. And I just feel that at my age, like, so I'm almost 50, oh my God. And I feel like, you know, I was struggling to find out what I had to do when I grew up. Like, what do I do? What am I going to be when I grow up? Like, what am I going to be?
Are you grown up yet?
I think maybe it could be getting close. And I think that everything that I thought I couldn't do it was just under the surface. And I think I can do anything. Anyone can do anything that they put their hearts to. So that's my motivation, to really and give people fairness as well. People with a disability, or people living in a facility or a service, they're very silent. You don't hear about them in the media. You may see them on the street, and you may have your preconceived judgments of these people. And I had the preconceived judgments before I started in disability as well. It's completely different. And to have your world open in a different way, to expand your knowledge, to expand how people live, really gives you more empathy and a lot more motivation to really make a difference in this space.
So, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal, or your vision?
Wow.
What's your vision first? Alistair's a vision man. What's your vision for your business?
My vision is that everyone receives support and care with dignity and safety every single day.
Fabulous. And you are doing that by helping support leaders and teams and team culture and everything like that in these types of businesses. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Cultures, communication, empathy, the emotional intelligence, it's the whole package. I can throw training to you and say, Jerry, I'm going to teach you how to use a peg tube, or I'm going to teach you how to manage someone with diabetes. I can throw all the training at you as much as you want, but that's not going to change the culture of the place.
Yeah. So you really felt that the end client was missing out on so much because the corporate structure and the corporate bickering and everything like that got in the way all the time, so that they weren't getting everything that they should have out of you guys. That,
and also the disability sector in particular is not a regulated. It's becoming more regulated, but you can go in and work with someone with a disability without any qualifications quite easily.
Yeah.
After a 3 or 4 day induction, you may have been driving a taxi or doing something, working in a supermarket, and within about 3 or 4 days, say about a week, you can be out providing support to someone, personal care, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Within that's how quick you can do it. And so when we put people that aren't skilled into people with very high complex supports, we are not serving anyone in that space, whether the staff member or the client or customer or whatever we call them, residents. There's so many different names for it depending on which sector you're in. So it's just rife with issues at the moment.
So is it just about training people, or, you know, what is it that makes everyone safe?
So training certainly has its place around competency and getting skill that people are safe, learning a new skill and then executing the skill in a safe way, 100%. That's just an ingredient, though. It's not a main ingredient. It comes back to culture and communication and values of an organisation, and that everyone has to share the values and live by the values while you're at work. And it's also out of work, how you represent your organisation out of work as well. That's really interesting when you hear about what people do, and it's like, oh, I work there, and oh, it's such a drag. And then it's people that go, oh, I work here and it's so fantastic. And I say, so what's so good about it? He says, I'm listened to at work. Oh, wow. Just the basic fundamentals. This is not brain science or, you know, anything rocket science, I should say. This is just fundamental relationships that you have with people. We've just forgotten that in some parts of our work. And so training, yes, is important, but there's so much more. Communication is key. And kindness.
Mm-hmm. Where do you, Annie, did you have your hand up? I don't know if you were just stretching. You did. Do you want to ask a question?
I did last week too, about 50,000 times, and you kept asking 50 billion questions. So David and I could not get a word in.
Was that you sitting with David?
Yes, I was very sick. Yes. And
Sorry.
I still came. I couldn't see. My eyes were swollen. I had tea bags on my eyes.
Oh, that was you.
Yeah, I didn't recognise her either, Gary,
Lucia
after.
said, hello, Addie. I'm like, that's not Annie.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. You had, like, as I said, 50 billion questions, and they were really good. So, we gave up in there. We said, this is actually sending the bean bags. But I wanted to ask you, Sandra, have you heard of a book called Tribal Leadership?
I have heard of it, but I've not read it.
Okay. It's an amazing, amazing book. And it talks about the different tribes that people go through, like the different levels of tribes, and how you can actually move from one tribe to another and stuff like that. And they were talking about there's a hospital, I think in Massachusetts. I mean, I read it a long time ago and I can't remember exactly where it is. I can look it up and let you know. But just get the book.
I will.
But it's talking about this hospital that the leadership went in, or they had this guy that came in. I don't know, he was a CEO or managing director or whatever. And he turned the whole culture around. So now companies pay the hospital for them to come around and to watch how they set up the culture in a hospital. And it's a really well-known hospital, and they treat their patients and exactly everything that you said with dignity and care and all of that, and how everybody wants to work there. Right?
Yeah.
So it's just, when I was reading it, I was just completely mesmerized of what they were saying. And I think you would really enjoy that book.
I'll definitely read it.
Especially as you're talking, I'm going, tribal leadership. So, yeah. So get it, because it's a really good book.
Yeah. And that's right. You want people to have a bit of a spring in their step to come to work. You want people to enjoy coming to work, looking forward to coming to work. I think everyone's going to have, crappy days. We all do. But fundamentally, you spend a third of your life, sometimes longer even, at work, and you need to enjoy it. So I will have a look at that book, Annie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But people are companies biggest asset.
Yes, 100%. Couldn't agree with you more.
And, you know, can I share a quick little story here?
Of course.
I used to work for a shipping company. The parent company was in Norway, so it was an international shipping company, and I worked there for 7 years. And it was the happiest place I've ever worked in, like when I worked for somebody else, you know, when I was an employee. And they really took care of us. And we had to work around the clock at times because of the business. You know, you deal with people around the world and different time zones. And they would provide us food, you know, shopping at the supermarket, and they would just fill up the fridge because sometimes we didn't have time to go for lunch. So we would just go and make sandwiches. And across the road, we had a gym. So we had a gold membership, and they forced us to go because we needed to be fit, body, mind, and soul. We had health insurance, all paid for the whole family, because they wanted to make sure that we don't worry if anything happens to our family, that they're taken care of. They sent us to the Mount Buller chalet for 3 days for holiday, all paid for. They really, really took care of us, and we worked around the clock, and we never asked for an extra cent, and they gave it to us.
Wow.
They gave us at Christmas, oh my God, I can't even tell you the gifts that we were going home with. Wine and salmon and a month's salary as a bonus.
Wow.
And saying thank you. They would say thank you so much. I have never in my life experienced anything like it.
Wow. Sounds like you were so valued, and how important that made that just the value that you felt, and you wanted to give more. You probably wanted to give more without because you wanted to do well, you wanted the company to do well, because they look after you. You feel valued.
I used to stress. I would go, and I'm one of these people. I like systems, and then I simplify them, and then it makes my job easier. Then I had nothing to do, and I'd be sitting there going, oh my God. And my boss said to me, can you just relax?
Wow.
Just relax. Okay. This is a different environment. Clearly.
Yeah.
It took about a good 6 months to kind of chill. So I loved working there. Plus shipping is very, very exciting. There's always something going on around the world. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the not-for-profit sector, it's a bit different. There's not that kind of like financial sort of incentives. It's just not. It's not made to do that. But feeling valued, anyone can do that. Like any sector can do that. Any business can do that.
Yeah.
But sounds like
I used to work at a I guess it was not-for-profit. Yeah, it was, you know, a membership association. So it was like, you know, like the money didn't. There was no money basically.
Yeah.
And they I guess they tried their hardest to make you feel valued, but it was never about the money, and you know, very few pathetic little pay rises and things like that. But I think you find in places like that, they just often focus on the money and how, you know, we're not for profit, so that just means that, you know, the money's not going to be there. But like you said, that doesn't give you the right to treat people like crap, you know.
Yeah. And I think there's also, I think also though, there wasn't there wasn't even the awareness that that's what was perpetuated within the organisation. Like there wasn't even an awareness that there actually was a problem, or it was ignored, or if they pretended it wasn't there. And I don't think it was one person. I just think it was like, it reminded me of, you know, when you make cordial, or you've got a dish of water, a bowl of water, and you put a little bit of food dye in it, and slowly the water changes to that colour. It happens eventually. It takes time. That's what it feels like, just one drop, and it just felt like it infused almost by osmosis into people. And I felt that at induction, when I did induction all those years ago when I first was employed, and I thought, wow, there's so much fear in this place. There's so much fear. And I thought, oh, it's probably just me. But that fear used to run through my veins, and it never left. And so that perpetuated.
And you picked up on that right away from the start.
I did, and I thought, oh, it's just me, Sandra. Just don't be so overly sensitive.
Yeah.
But I never could shake it off.
Yeah, I started.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I started at a job once, and I just had a bad feeling from the start. And I'd left a job at the membership association. I'd been there for maybe 5, 6, something like that years, 5 years at least, and I just had a bad feeling about it. And then my boss got fired, and then one day they just let me go for no reason. And I was devastated thinking it was me. And then after that, I'm like, nah, like I just wouldn't have lasted in this place anyway. Just I was getting those, and I was only there 7 weeks or something. I was already dreading that Sunday afternoon too. I just couldn't stand the thought of having to go to that job on a Monday. It was just the most horrible feeling. But I just want to ask you, Sandra, like, what do you think is the most important thing that helps create successful teams?
So one of the most important things is honesty. To be honest, really honesty. Everybody knows the agenda. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows the goal, why they're doing it, not just because they're told to do it, but why they are doing it. And the communication is both ways. So often, in general, leaders will talk to their employees when they want something from them, or from their staff when they want something for them, or when the staff member's done something wrong. So it's that checking in. That communication is key. Checking in, picking up the phone with no agenda and saying, "How you guys going? Is there anything that you need?" That speaks volumes for people. That connectivity with people. People, are feeling very isolated, especially now. People feeling exceptionally isolated under the microscope around, how they're coming to work. Are they symptom free? Have they possibly got a cough? Like just checking in with people. People are human beings. So communication and relatability is really, really, really important at any level of the organisation. And whether or not you have an education or not should never make a difference the way you relate to people. It's about respect. Yeah, it's about respect, and and having a fear-free work environment is essential as well.
Absolutely, no one should have to be scared
to
come to work or deal with a boss or something like that.
That's right. Yeah. So
yeah. Oh well, has anyone else got any questions
I do.
for tonight? Yeah.
So my question here is in relation to the fear. What do people fear? Because that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
So do they fear that they're going to be losing their job? Do they fear the person? Because that comes down to self-worth, right? So I'm just puzzled. Like, what's the fear about?
So in the when you're dealing with or supporting people, they're in your care, you're paid to support them in the best way that you know. If you don't know that person very well and you're rostered on to work with a certain person, you don't know all the information because he's got a folder this thick, and you don't know the way he moves, the way he eats, the way he does anything. There is fear to say, oh my God, something could go wrong here. So there's that whole induction, or that even introduction to somebody, even that down to that level of doing something wrong. And if I do something wrong and I put an incident report in, am I going to get in trouble? So it's that whole culture of, oh my God, if I get caught, people are going to think that they can't trust me. Like it's so complex. This fear is huge in the sector. I'm not saying it's in every organisation, but there are some great services doing great work, great organisations doing great work, but there is the fear of doing something wrong and making a mistake and being let go of that mistake, losing your job because of a mistake.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm just really lost in this and struggling, because I sit there and I go, so I presume these are I don't know what you call them, nurses?
No, so in most disability organisations, they're disability support workers.
Okay, so disability support workers, right?
Yeah.
So how can an institution get somebody to go out to see somebody when maybe they haven't met them before, or they're not fluid in knowing and what is the situation with this person?
Yeah, so they're given some information, and sometimes they will just go. Some of these organisations have we used to call them customers, live in their own units, and they have care coming, going in. Yeah. And sometimes if it's the regular person is off, or they're off sick or unexpected leave, they just backfill it with somebody else. And that person could be someone they haven't met before. Because they need to fill that shift, that line, they will roster on the person. As long as they've got some of the criteria around what training that they need and they're deemed safe, they will go in. So they could have someone coming in. So say it's me and I'm coming in to give you a shower in the morning, Annie, and I may be male. You might not be comfortable with the male. They do try and make, if there's a female customer, there's a female carer, they do try and do that. But you haven't met me and I'm going to shower you. How would you feel?
Is she frozen or stunned?
No, I forget the shower because somebody's coming to help you, and that the normal person, they should tell them that somebody else is coming, so at least they're prepared. I hope that they do that. If they don't,
sometimes they do when they get a chance to. Yeah, they do. They try to. Yeah.
So, with all this automation at the moment, I'm surprised that the person is not being told. I mean, that's almost like your privacy is being kind of. Yeah. I don't know what the word is, but yeah. But I just cannot understand how a hospital or whatever the institution is sending somebody else out that doesn't really know much about this person, and then the support person is the one that's living in fear from making a mistake. It's not their responsibility, or
it is their responsibility. It's their duty of care. Is their duty of care, to keep that person safe.
No, I know, but the information that they're going there for is that it's their duty of care to read the whole file before they go.
And so this is the problem. So if someone's got a file that thick, because they've got so many complex needs, that what part do I actually have to read? What part do I have to read? And sometimes they just go, just look in the folder in the front page and you'll be able to see. So as I was leaving this particular organisation, they were going to do some like summary pages, but otherwise you'd be going through folders and folders around.
Well, I think that's
especially if someone's non-verbal. If someone's non-verbal and they can't, communicate, then there's potential real issues there. How they eat, how they do everything. So and also in disability, not always, but English isn't always the first language either, and that's another challenge as well. Although they do psychometrics and all that, English isn't their first language. A lot of them don't have a qualification disability, not even a Set 3, as I mentioned before. So there is a lot of risk. It doesn't make sense, I know. But as I said, not all organisations are doing this poorly. There's some fantastic organisations doing it out there, really fantastic. But there is risk. You can't ignore the risk.
But you've seen enough and know enough that you want to do something about it. So
I do.
It's great, Sandra. It's great to be led by a passion, and what I love is that you'll be just able to show your true personality now out in what you're doing.
Hope so.
Look out, world. Here comes a real Sandra with the big curls and all.
Oh, yeah.
Well, your passion is intoxicating. So you keep that
Annie.
going.
Thank you.
People will be attracted to your light.
Oh, thank you, Annie. That's very
I want to know, how did your call went the other day?
Yeah, I'll tell you later.
And thank you to our back of house people for sharing this video tonight.
How far did you go out tonight?
We've nearly got to 4,000.
Wow.
751 people have viewed it for longer than 3 seconds.
That's
It always
good.
cracks me up.
Sandra, you grab the eyeballs.
3 seconds. Whoa.
I wanted to just add to Annie's and encourage you. You know, Annie will have an experience for sure, and I have of taking that step, and there's real uncertainty. You know, I had people like Annie around me, or I still remember the day when Annie said, you know, I don't know if she was swearing or not, but she was pretty frustrated. She said, when are you going to teach us this stuff? You know, because I've been in business for a couple of decades. I just know how I know the mechanics of business. And she was, when are you going to teach this stuff? You know, and this was before I was prepared. But as I grew into the role, as I stepped into it, I really did find myself. And some of the people I've worked with, I mean, all of the people I've worked with have helped me with that. That's the cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting times. Might need to, you know, lean on you a bit, Alistair. And Annie was fantastic. I had a chat with Annie last week and she was just brilliant.
Yeah.
If anybody can take you out of your doubt, it's definitely Annie. She's unreal.
Thank you.
Really unreal.
The Energizer Annie. Is that okay? Can we use a brand name?
Whatever you want to call me, I'm good.
So, you know, Sandra, what you're prompting for me is I wonder if as a group we can maybe catch up in another forum where we actually do kind of, I don't know, encourage each other or share, you know, share from the front line, or I don't know, just what you were saying there was, you know, leaning on each other. That's part of what this is about. This platform Monday night is all about what you just did, really just talking from the heart. And again, like Lucia, you've just stepped in and bang, just, you know, we could have gone another hour, no problems, I'm sure.
Quite easily, don't worry.
I mean, it was
She's
so,
Italian.
Yeah, I am Italian.
Yeah, but it just flowed and like, it's great, you know, so, but what you're just saying there about kind of leaning on each other a bit, this is all about the giving and the receiving, you know, so
yeah.
Maybe we can contemplate if there is another forum. So we've got Friday afternoon happy half hour, or I don't know how long Luke and Jerry go, but that's the other forum we've got at the moment. But there's something to think about. Maybe
Definitely. I'm not one to ask for help, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm trying to get better at, because I'm not good at asking for help, but I can help as well. Like,
yeah,
in some way.
You know, why don't we start an All for One mastermind group?
Where a giver also has to be a receiver.
Yes.
Because if you keep giving,
that's right,
your emotional bank account is going to be empty, and it's exactly why you left that job.
That's right.
So receiving, what does that make you? That makes you human, and that makes you powerful, because when you receive from so many different people and different experiences, all the questions that you have that you're not sure of get answered. So then you become so much better at what you do. But you got to ask. If you don't ask, you're only going to stay where you are. The more you ask. And I learned that in the jungle in Malaysia. Yeah.
Wow.
I never asked.
Yes.
And my legs were paralyzed. I couldn't walk. It was a mental thing.
Wow.
And then I asked that I want to finish. It was the last exercise of the whole 5 days. And I thought, I'm not going to complete. And I was devastated. And then the guy said to me, do you want to do it? I go, yes. So he got the whole team and they pulled me up onto this tree because I couldn't walk. So they just hooked me up, and I'm looking down and all these people are yelling all this wonderful stuff at me. And I'm going, halfway through, I went, oh my God, I never asked for help. And it is due to our upbringing, you know, because, you know, you gotta know everything, because we are, you know, there's an S tattooed on our forehead somewhere. And the feeling came back into our legs. And since then I have been asking for help, and I have no qualms, none.
Okay.
Because if people ask help from you and you like giving, right? So you're gifting them something, right? And you like that they're receiving with excitement. Well, when somebody wants to gift you and you say, oh, it's all right, then you're actually saying no. So they walk away going,
they don't feel valued.
right? So it has to be a mutual exchange.
Yeah. It's me. You're right. It's our upbringing, or my upbringing was like, you don't ask for help. You don't let anyone know how you're feeling. You just get on with it.
Yep.
Just get on with it. Just get on with it. You know, fake it till you make it. And that can work. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But there is a cost of doing it that way. Yeah, there is a cost. And there is impact, for sure.
You make somebody really happy. So when you and I had a chat the other day, you made me really happy. Because as I was asking you question and supporting you, and then you were giving me your 2 bits, I'm going, oh yeah, I haven't thought of that. So I'm learning, and as you will know, as all of us here in this forum here, we know that when we teach, we learn.
We learn, 100%. 100%.
So keep asking. It doesn't make you any less, it makes you powerful.
If you want to go to the scientific level, Sandra, you know, Newton came up with some laws, and they are the laws of the universe, you know, and one that's relevant here is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
You know, we live in a universe that does have limits. We don't understand them, but they are there. So it's a finite system. Nothing's created or destroyed. It just goes around and comes around.
Yeah. Yeah.
And guess when Newton discovered gravity and calculus and everything was during his year of isolation during a plague.
I didn't know that. See?
Yes.
So much to learn right here. There's just so much to learn.
Yeah.
He called it in Latin, he called it my wonderful year. He just learnt and grew and discovered so much. He was quite young. He was still at university when he did all that, but they had a plague going through England, and that's when he did all that.
You know, I think about this whole COVID-19, and I was already in sort of not a lockdown, but I was already working. I was already at home anyway, and I felt very uncomfortable in the uncertainty, not just of COVID, but just, oh my God, what am I doing? What makes me? I said this to Annie last week. I'm so reckless. I'm so irresponsible. I'm so, you know, why can't I just be like everyone else and just go to work and, you know, get my paycheck and, you know, live the life that I want to live. And I thought, oh my God. And I realized it's not just about the money. We all want money, but it's not just about the money. And I'm just realizing that it's, yes, we all need it, but can't be the only motivator. So
normal is boring.
That's right. And we're not boring people here, right?
No.
It's the fruit of the harvest, you know, and it's great to plant the seeds and nurture the seeds and do everything else. And then it's great to enjoy the fruit, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, you know, the whole process is the process.
Yeah. And there's part of the process where it's not really great. That's hard, the waiting and are they going to call me back, or I should have done it differently and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, you learn. You're just learning. You're open to learning with no shame or anything. You just do it. You just learn.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. You've got me I've got all these songs going around in my head now. Reckless, I've got going around in my head.
Was that David Rain? Was that David Rain? Aussie Crawl that sang that?
Yeah. Whatever David Rain was in that group. We do it in our choir. But then
I'm singing
this morning I've got the pods in and I'm dancing around the kitchen and I'm singing Alanis Morissette, You Live, You Learn, that song.
Yeah.
And my boy's listening to me because they love listening to me sing. And he goes, you learn, you cry. He says, you don't cry when you learn. And I said, excuse me, who is the two children that have just gone through homeschooling? I've never seen so many tears in my life about writing 4 bloody paragraphs. And he's like, yes, you're right. You do cry when you learn.
Yes. And sometimes they're tears of desperation and sometimes they're tears of joy.
I'm
both fronts
because he's going back to school.
Yes. Oh dear.
Oh gosh. Well, thank you so much, Sandra, for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for your input and questions, everyone else. And if you haven't joined the community, please join the All for One community at bit.ly/all-for-one-community. That's with the numeral 4. And we love to have anyone on presenting, we do this live on Monday nights at 8 o'clock.
Or just taking part. We're really open to
Australian Standard Time.
Yes. People are finding their feet and still looking like, you know, anyone that was kind of like, I got a bee in my bonnet. What does that mean? They would have got something by sitting here tonight and listening.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I hope so.
We welcome people to just sit and listen in the background. Absolutely.
Yes.
You should get David to do a thing on Ho'oponopono.
Okay.
He is so good at it.
At what? Sorry.
It's called Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Hop on a porno. What?
Not porno. God, you.
It's Hawaiian.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay.
So it's a Hawaiian prayer, and it's a Hawaiian forgiveness prayer, and it is absolutely amazing.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
And David does it like I went to him and his wife do these circles, these full moon circles and spiritual circles, and I went to one where they had both men and women, because his wife does the women one, right? And then every couple of months they do a joint one. So I took my son, and David went into the Ho'oponopono. Wow, it was amazing.
Okay, Jerry, I'll approach David and invite him. Yeah,
That'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Yeah, that'd be
powerful.
great.
It's simple and powerful, and that's the way we love it.
Yeah, great. Oh, please just beg him. Tell him I want him to come next time.
Oh, David doesn't need begging. He just
Good.
Just tell him, and he'll show up.
Yeah.
Just tell him he's on next week.
Yeah. All right, done.
Him and his wife are unbelievable. Yes. All right, everybody, have a good one.
Right.
I gotta go in 15